Welcome to Oh Brother, a podcast of three brothers trying to figure it all out. With your hosts, Brandon, Colin, and Aaron. On this week's show, Westerer. Ahoy!
Ahoy!
How's the Arctic tundra down south?
Well, you know, it's frozen. So not a lot happening here. Mostly hiding inside because, well, it's freezing. Actually, it's below freezing technically. If you want to get official about these things,
which we do.
It is frigid. I believe, yes, Arctic is a good word to describe this. Yeah. It's not going, really. It stopped. That's what.
This was quite shocking to me because this was not even not on our literal radar for like weather and such, but it wasn't even in our periphery of knowledge that this winter storm was happening south of us. And so we kind of watched horrified as more and more reports came in on like Facebook about how everything was shutting down and it was all an icy mess and how everything was terrible and awful and not very good. And we're like, well, that okay, we may need to change the view of the business's plans. So hold on. I was shocked. I was so it was mostly freezing rain, or how much snow did you end up getting?
So snow, not a lot, right? Like not a lot of snow in the whole grand scheme of things. Not like maybe an inch total. Probably not. That's like pretty exaggerating. So not a lot of snow. What we got was sleet, right? There was probably a good half inch of sleet out there.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, it was gross. And so like it just because so this was also not on my weather radar either. Like Friday when we left school, I was like, yeah, whatever. Like someone was like, yeah, the weather might be kind of bad next week. That was kind of the extent of the conversations that I had about it.
Yeah.
Right. That was all. And so like Sunday night, we're like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And it did that, and then it did it again, and then it did it again, right? Like just every day, it was just like sleep some more, and then be 15 degrees outside. Did that is all. Like there's no 20 degrees for the past 3 days. So that's the extent of the.
So you haven't been doing any outside walks, I presume?
No, we have not. Especially after my boot collapsed on the last one, that really put the kibosh on it for me personally. But it's been so cold out there, like it's even not even funny. So we haven't done anything. We haven't gone anywhere. I didn't even have to cancel my dentist appointment because they called me and were like, yeah, no, we're not even opening tomorrow. So don't worry about it.
Nice.
Sweet. All right. It was like, that's good because I was going to call you in the morning anyway because I can't leave my street. Like it's just solid frozen, right? Because it was like sleety, this big sleety layer. And then there's like a little bit of like really powdery snow on top of it. So it's just like the slickest thing ever. It's basically like ice.
Yeah.
With like some really like fine powder dust over top of it. So that's cool. That's really traction-y, right? Like it's not how this works.
Yeah, and that's the thing about those winter storms where like total accumulations, they're not ever very impressive. But it's what was accumulating, right? that all of a sudden becomes extremely worrisome.
Yeah, that's the problematic part. I think it's like sleety iciness. Arkansas got it way worse, I guess. It's just like a solid sheet of ice down there. from what I've been seeing on the weather stuff. So like, that's fun.
Oof.
But so we just got the tip of it. But yeah, we're like, well, gonna stay inside and stay inside some more. So that's really been my week. It's been pretty uneventful.
Man, what a hard swing from all of your adventures last week.
Yeah, I know, right? Complete U-turn. Took the dive here, and so just like sitting at home, right? And it was really weird because Monday, the listeners behind the curtain here, this is currently Wednesday, February 1st. Okay, that's important. That's not when you're going to be hearing this, but hello, future listeners. How are you? Anyway, Monday, they were just like, okay, the school said it's just a snow day. Free day. Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome. Tuesday, just a snow day. Free day. Sweet. Wednesday, virtual work learning day. Like, what?
Ooh. Changes
so that's
the game.
real. Yeah, right. Like AMI day, right? That's what we call it at our school, right? And so, like, I didn't have to be like virtually doing anything because all the assignments are already online, and I already told the kids where they were. We prepared, like, when we came back from Christmas break, we just had a whole big talk, a couple days, like, this is the time of the year where we need this, so let's explain how this works.
Yeah.
Right. We don't bother explaining it really before Christmas because it doesn't really snow that much in like November. So okay. But after we're like, hey, listen, here we go. So they had it all like downloaded and stuff. But like, that's a hard swing for kids to be like, oh yeah, do nothing, do all the things. Like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine for elementary school students, right, it's gonna be awkward. Okay, so like even for some of my kids, because like not all of my kids take their devices home on the weekends because they just don't care because they have their own or whatever, and they're just like, whatever, it's I don't need it, so I'm just gonna leave it at school. So this weather system was so not on my radar that I didn't bother saying things on Friday like, make sure you take your stuff home.
Oh.
So there are at least two, probably more than that, kids that don't have their devices at home to do their work. So that's cool. I mean, there you go. That's fun, and that's, again, this is like, it's technically their responsibility to do that, I guess. Because like after Christmas, we also start transitioning we transition from you can only take your devices home on Friday to we're going to start letting you take them home every day. Because that's what 7th graders do.
Oh.
And so it's kind of like a practice plus snow days, right? We have our snow days in spring. So
yeah,
we're like, take them home every day just in case, right?
Please.
January, February for the past couple of years have been like, surprise, we're out of school for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but so I know some of them didn't do that. And I know it's like technically their responsibility, but also like I feel really bad for them because they are going to be behind.
Well, yeah.
And like, it's like, oh man, you get.
Well, so for in those situations, how do you start to ascertain, or do you know who has one? How do you manage that, or do you?
I don't know because I didn't like pay that much attention on Friday of who took their stuff home or who left it charging in the charging ports in my classroom. Like, I don't know who did or who didn't. Right? I know that there were some over there. Right. And the number is greater than what should be there. So like, that's all I got, right? Like I don't. That's it's greater than what should be there on a Friday.
Yeah.
So But some kids, if they're going to be traveling for the weekend or whatever, they're like, I'm not going to take it because I don't want to like accidentally leave it at my grandma's house or something like that, So if that was the plan, or they're just like, yeah, it's just not, I don't need it at home, just the hassle or whatever. Like, that's cool. Except for you got work to do now, so that's fun. Technically, if they have any other way of getting online at home, they could get it, right? Because it's online. You just have to, it's ascertainable. But if they're a person that doesn't have internet access and they had downloaded it to their device so they could do it all sans internet, then
Kind
you
of
have a problem, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always fun to wade through that when you get back to this is the problem, right? So like, I really don't have any way of ascertaining this until we return to school, because the kids that did download it, like, they're not going to post it or email it to me, because that's the whole reason they download it, because they don't have internet access at their house,
Sure.
right? So they're not going to like email it to me. So basically, whenever we go back to school, which unfortunately is looking like Friday, gross.
Really? You don't think you're going to be? Well,
we're not going to be back tomorrow. I already got a phone call.
Right.
No school tomorrow. Tomorrow it is supposed to be like that. It's allegedly going to actually get to like close to 40. So it should melty.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
but at
never
the same
know
time,
about
like,
random back roads in Southwest Missouri, right? Who knows? But my road might be passable tomorrow. But at the same time, having one day of school a week and it being Friday that's gonna not be fun.
It's almost not.
It's almost not worth it, right?
Worth it.
It's almost not worth it.
Yeah.
It's almost just like, you know what? Just cancel school and I'll see you Monday, right? That I feel like that's the appropriate response. If I was superintendent, that's what I would do. I'd be like, look, I don't care. This is not worth the hassle. It's ridiculous, right? Like we have extra days in our calendar anyway. Let's just gonna reset and we'll come back Monday, right? It's just like a whole week, the week that never was, right? I feel like that's the appropriate response. But trying to wade through all this catastrophe, basically I'm gonna have to make myself a checklist, right? And just go through and start looking at people and either seeing if it is, I'm just gonna have to take minutes at the beginning of class being like, is yours online or is it done? Like, did you turn it in the classroom, Google Classroom, or do you have it on your device that I can look at right now? Because if they have it on their device, I told them just bring it up to me and show me, and I'll just scroll through it and I'll check your work and see if it's good, and then I can do it that way. But that takes a lot of time, right? So I don't really know. But I am going to have to make a checklist basically of all my classes and then just go at that. That's what I will do probably is I will go through my grade book and I'll just make lists of the classes, right? Just like in the grade book, alphabetically down, boop. And then I'll just put check marks by their names for which assignments they have done. Right. I feel like that's the way I'm going to do it.
Well, yeah, because you have to be efficient with that and make sure that you don't miss something. And still, I don't know. Are you going to try and do more on Friday if you're in class?
It depends, right? Because for social studies, we were in the middle of a multi-day project anyway, and so so we would just do that, right? And that's what we would do probably. So I'm not real sure. I don't remember what we were doing in science because we just started something new. We just started weather conveniently. So it'll be
well, it'd be new for everybody.
Yeah. So it'll be kind of, yeah, everything is new. So it's like not like we weren't like in the middle of something. Like the thing that we did on Friday, we finished last Friday. I mean, we finished that. And so whatever we were going to do the next day is, it will be new to everybody anyway. So we'll just have to see. Right. Have to see what happens. So that'll be fun. But this is what I do, right? Because I have to like just have everything out in front of me so I look at it. Like I will legitimately, I just get my clipboard and I grab a piece of paper and I usually I grab 3 pieces of paper because I have the 3 classes that rotate, right? So I'll just front side one class, back side the other class, other paper the third class, and I have a like a square, you know, a little square, like the triangle looking thing, you know.
Yeah.
And I just make my own charts for whatever it is I'm doing. Right. If I'm grading something, like this is how I make the rubric so that when I grade, right? I like across the top axis, I just put the categories I want to check mark. And then I just use my square to draw nice little beautiful vertical lines down my lined paper. And then when I'm going through looking at stuff, I just check mark off boxes. And that way I just have a whole table and I can just look across on rows like this person has everything. This person has everything. This person's missing something. This, right? Just like, this is like, I have to visually see it that way because it helps me keep track of everything. Because like you said, it's a lot of stuff to try to keep track of and manage. And so that's probably what I will do, right? Because when I'm grading, like when they do presentations, this is how I grade it, right? The first round, I grade in 2 rounds. Like I grade it by, my top row is the stuff that was on the rubric, like the things that I told you had to have. And I'm just when they're presenting, I'm just sitting there going, yep, nope, yep. And I'm like, I just check it off. And then I go back later and look at the details and stuff. But like I have a check mark of these are all the things I had. But it helps me visualize everything very simply. So I would probably make a big old table and
hey, they help.
And just check mark it off.
Yeah. Well, that's the point of having those rubrics, or at least the organized table, so that you can see exactly what you have and exactly what you don't have, right? And compare between things and keep everything in order and on track.
Yeah. I was abnormally excited this year because I found my square that I was missing. Right. So this is the kind of nerdy moments that I have. I have like 3. There's always like a lot of those architects or the engineer squares. There's like 3 different ones and there's different sizes. So I have one that's like enormous. It's like a giant like equilateral triangle, which is not helpful, right? But it's big. Like it's too big. It's too big to use. Like it's a right triangle, but it's huge, right? And then I have another one that's like a medium sized one. It's like fine. Like the one I was using, but I had a small one. It's like 9 or 10 inches on the long side. And like I couldn't find it forever. I didn't know where it was. And I think what had happened was I was like, oh, I should put it at the end of the year or something. I was like, I should put it here so I don't lose it. Yeah, we know how that turns out all the time. And so it was gone forever.
And after
then, like,
losing
earlier
it
this year, I found it again, and there was much rejoicing. There was way too much celebrating about a square.
I don't know.
It's a crucial part of my existence.
Yes, I think that's right.
A weird tool that I must have at all times. And so, yeah, I'll probably be using that to wade through this quagmire of who has their work done, because the shtick here, right, for these virtual days, or AMI days, alternate method of instruction, is that in order for that day to count as a school day and not go against your like number of days that the state says you have to be in session per year, I have to grade this work.
Oh, interesting.
I have to. Right.
Oh, that's weird.
And so otherwise it doesn't count as an instructional day. But because the child was spending X number of minutes doing schoolwork per day, it gets to count as a school day. That is, you don't have to make it up or do anything with that. According to the state of Missouri, and they're just so wise, those fools. That this counts as a school day, right? So apparently doing, let's see, near as I can figure, an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and a half of classwork counts as a school day. Whatever.
Well, you know,
but I have to grade it, and so like I have to find, right? Yeah, it's the proof that they did it, right? And so if they didn't do it, they have to make it up at some point and do it, right? It's a mandatory work, which is annoying to like track it down.
Yeah.
Find it. It's hard enough to get people to turn in like normal work when they're in school. Right?
Yeah. Let alone like fake work when you're not. Like,
yeah. Oh no, it totally legitimate.
Of course. I mean, yes.
Yeah. It's fine.
Wow.
But I have to chase it all down, and I have to give them a grade for it. It has to be in the grade book. So that's fun. You know. So that is the biggest hassle, is I have to chase it down and I have to track it down and I have to do all this stuff. So that's always a fun time. And man, kids love missing recess to work on work they were supposed to do at home. So that's going to be fun too. But also, since they're taking all the devices home, it's like, just do it. I don't care when. I need it.
Yeah.
The sooner the better. Otherwise you'll forget about it.
Please. Yeah. Well, that's, I don't know. I'm sure that's hard to be prepared. I know you said you had a lot of those assignments just kind of ready and waiting.
Yeah. Last year when they came up with this brilliant plan, I spent a lot of time making these things. Right. So there's a lot of weird caveats here. Like I can't teach new material, right? So it can't be new, but until all of my AMI stuff is stuff that happens in the first semester of school, right? It's just like random things from, not random, but like it's the major topics from the first semester. Just again. So like it's not new, right? If we ever have an AMI day in like the first month of school, I'm in trouble. But like that'd be weird, right? To have one in like August, September. That'd be strange. But
very
if it ever happens there, we have a problem. Because that's where my first units are, and that's what the first things are from there. So that's exciting. But yeah, so it can't be new. It has to be review, but they have to do it. Otherwise, it doesn't count. So I don't know how they would know this.
What a weird web to walk through.
It doesn't make any sense, right? There's literally no way to monitor that. Right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Is the state going to come to my classroom and they're going to be like, dig around through there, be like, oh, hey, I see that you don't have is Eric Schmidt going to walk into my classroom and inspect my grade book? Probably at some point, because they're insane. Governor Parsons is just going to show up and be like, yo, let me see your learning standards. Like, they're on the wall, buddy. You and everyone else can see them. calm down.
You're assuming he knows those kind of things exist. I think you're doing a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point. Certain groups in the government are very concerned about what is happening in the school, but like for the wrong reasons. Like they just want to make sure certain things aren't happening. Right. That's why there's all these like weird things happening. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's not that you're doing a good job and you're like being equitable and fostering a positive learning environments. No. It's what things are you saying that I don't like and you shouldn't be saying, right? That's what it's just it's weird code for censorship. Anyway, we won't talk about that. But we'll
moving on.
Moving on. So yeah, that's my quagmire is wading through. Do you have your work or not? So it'll be fun. It takes forever. Like blah.
Well,
it's like it's almost like you have to spend a whole day going through the days that you just did that quote unquote count as real school. Like, and I'm still behind my curriculum that I have to get through for the whole year anyway. So like that, it doesn't make it's completely useless.
Sounds like it. I'm so sorry.
It's dumb. It's whatever. It's fine.
Well, that we have not been doing that.
I mean, yeah. Today I've been playing video games and like reading. So like this is what I've actually been just checking my email today, being like, oh, see if anybody emailed me. They didn't, but like, you know, just there's a case, you know.
Good times.
Indeed. It did. Oh yeah. Well, it did give us, however, some important time to finally catch up on some things, like finally remembering to buy certain movies on Amazon so that your wife can watch them for the first time ever.
Oh yes, walk us through your latest movie time. Yes, movie times. What did you get purchased?
So, because we were talking about it a few weeks ago on our brilliant episode about cat movies, I was like, you know what? I should actually watch Oliver and Company and see if it deserves such a high spot on my rankings.
Okay. Yeah.
And so going off, so I had this very odd experience when I watched it, right? We were watching it and I was like, it started and I was just like, I don't remember any of this. I had no memory of how the movie started. I really had no memory of the plot, really. I had no memory of like a lot of things. It's going on, and he meets Dodger, and they play that stinking song, and my brain just like turned on. Blam. And it was like, I was remembering the trailer to this movie.
Oh my gosh.
I was remembering.
It triggered.
Yeah,
you're activated.
Yes,
Manchurian candidate over here.
Disney song like turned on weird dormant parts of my brain, and like I was remembering like the ads on TV. I was remembering like posters of this movie. Right, I was remembering all kinds of weird things about the movie and things associated with the movie that I had not remembered at all until I heard that dumb song. It's so catchy. Oh, it's awful. It lit up these parts of my brain, and I was remembering all this stuff. It was hilarious. I was just like, ah! Like having a meltdown over there. Susan was looking at me like I was insane because I am. But But yes, I was correct. Oliver and Company is an excellent movie. Not just a movie about cats. It's really good. I liked it a lot. Susan gives it 2 thumbs up, by the way. Big fan. That one.
That was my question. What was the review?
I believe it was something like, I loved it. Something like that.
Okay.
Some of that official, something like that. That was the official sound there. So watching Oliver and Company, and then the main event I bought a DVD because I can't be bothered to have any more internet things to pay for. The double feature of Rescuers and the Rescuers Down Under.
Yes. Okay.
And there was much rejoicing again. It was so good. That was. I don't know why I haven't bought this before. It's one of those things. Like I was like, this. I feel like I've looked at that like 20 times and then be like, nah, I'll buy it later. And then like 5 years later, I still don't own it.
But now.
So we watched those. So we had movie watching time. That's what we've been doing this week. Movie watching time.
Okay.
Hanging out.
And had she seen? She had not seen those either.
She had seen The Rescuers, the first one, but like when she was young, and so she didn't remember anything. She was like, I remember that there were mice and a bird. Like, all right, yep, that's
wow.
Yeah, that was it.
Well, so no, I'm just realizing The Rescuers. First off, The Rescuers came out in 1977.
Yeah, it was real weird.
The Rescuers Down Under came out in what, 1990?
Yeah,
full 23, and they still had Eva Gabor and Bob Newhart voicing.
Yes, it was really weird. It was really odd, right? They're two completely different eras of Disney movie.
Wow, right? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either until we were watching it and I was looking up about it. Because we were talking about Disney movies and that conversation that we've had many times on the show, right? Where like that era of Disney movie that people don't like is some of my favorite movies are in there, right? Like that, the Bronze Age, I guess technically, is like all of those 80s movies that like people don't like to talk about, like Oliver and Company, right? That's like the last one, right? Because Oliver and Company is 1988. And the very next year, they made The Little Mermaid, which sort of like kick-started the Disney Renaissance
into the 90s. Yeah.
Time, right. Mm-hmm. So, but like a lot of those Bronze Age movies from like 1970 to 1988 that people don't like, I think are great. You know, those are excellent movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the ones on this list, they're like, that I'm looking at right now. They're just like, oh no, everyone's always like, no, those are the bad ones. Like, what are you talking about? These movies are excellent.
Yes. No, I definitely agree.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, that was a shock when you watch them. Like, this is like, I didn't really remember that being a thing. Like, I didn't remember them being that different.
Sure.
In my mind, they're not that different. When you watch them consecutively, you look at them and go, ugh.
Oh. With animation styles and everything.
Yeah, there's animation and like the color of the second one.
Oh yeah,
is rather astounding when you watch. Part of that's the setting, right? But like the first movie is very dark.
Oh,
I in tone and also in like what's happening. I can't see. It's all animated all dark.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say I remember The Rescuers just being. Part of the tone plus part of that I think is the animation where it is just dim like the entire time.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway.
And again, there was parts of that the first Rescuers that I didn't remember either because like the beginning part, like the setup, you know, like the prologue or not the prologue, but like the rising, some of the rising action stuff when it starts going. I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting there going, how do they end up in the swamp anyway?
Oh.
How do they Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh there's a cat there. Oh okay, okay. I remember this right. Like I was struggling because I just remembered like the part when they're in the swamp, like close to the end. That's the only real parts that I remembered. You know, like the ending parts where they're like having
Oh,
the chase and they're like in the hole and they're doing all that stuff, right? Like
same. Yeah,
that's the part I remembered. So like the beginning of the investigation, I was like, huh? What? What's going on here? So
well, I'm glad. That sounds like that was a good
it was
good
fun.
use of yeah.
Yeah. It was luckily those came in before the
Before the
sleet arrived.
before
So
the
that was
big
handy.
freeze. Yeah.
Yeah, that was real handy. Came in over the weekend. And so like again, I was not planning on having many snow days to watch these, but that's what I got. Yeah, they came in like earlier, so I don't know. That's
You gotta
that was real odd.
take what you're given. That's basically
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, along with I hate to keep cutting you off because you were going to talk about things. But
you're fine.
What the other thing that the other well, let's say the Rescuers was not the only thing that I've been putting off buying for a very long time this week. Right.
Oh my gosh, you've been busy. Okay.
I have. I finally repurchased a book that I lost like 15 years ago.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Right. And now this book, like, is it good? Questionable, right? Questionable. Its goodness, right? But it does contain several like important things in my life that I reference a lot because I first read it in high school, right? I first read it in high school, and so it's a formidable time, you know, in your youth. And so it's a book of like contemporary humor. Right now, again, when I was in high school, it was actually contemporary.
I was gonna say contemporary to when?
Contemporary to circa 2000. So so that is around the time I had bought my copy as well. Like it's one of those things like my friend read it and then like I borrowed it and then like he bought one and then I bought a copy at a books like a used bookstore or something. So like kind of how that how that goes, right? And so I had it. And then, like, I don't know, a long time ago, this somebody was like, "Oh yeah, that's really good. That's crazy. You have that book. Can I borrow it?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then I never saw it again. Like they borrowed it, and then like they moved, and it got lost somewhere. It's just been gone for a long time, and again for years, like literal years now, right? Like I've been going almost 15 years, I think. I've been going, I should try to buy another one of those. Right. But it's very out of print. It's not like expensive or anything. It's just like annoying to find. Right. And so I was just thinking about it the other day and I was like, listen, now's the time. I'm going to look. I found a used copy on Amazon and I bought it just for basically nostalgia reasons. But I bought another, not new, a new to me copy of Mirth of a Nation, the best of contemporary humor. Circa 2000. So a lot of this is probably funnier in 2000 than it is now. I haven't read through all of it yet, but
it's fine.
It's fine. Some of it still holds up. Some of it's still good. So there's just some important things in here for my like weird things that I reference a lot, right? Things that I think about. Some stuff that stuck with me and it just like became part of my personality, I guess. And so I need to have it again. Just in my possession so that I could reference it some more because these are things that you cannot find outside of this book places. So that's what
specifically. So it's it's a contemporary.
It's like
humor,
140 like little short essays.
short essays
Yeah.
on just was it America at the time, or was it just on weird observations of or cultures?
Yeah, I think it's just kind of cultural observations and like weird things, right? So there's just like there's a whole section in the front about like submission guidelines and how these things got to be in the book. I don't think I ever read that. I don't really care. But like
I remember
it's
it
just
being
like-
a lot of the first time I had ever, because after you had read this book, I had then read it quite a bit. And I remember it being a lot of, again, I have not read this book in many moons, over 20 years at this point, probably. And it was the first time I had read something that was like truly satire in the like in the straight faced presentation, the spoofing of different contexts, but like reading it, it was the first time I read something where I had to read the subcontext, like of what it was actually saying, of like just the face value is one read, and then underneath that level is something else.
It's definitely a read between the lines type of read, right? Like, and again, when it was more topical, it probably made more sense to me, right? Again, I have only read a few of the excerpts that I really remember about it, but like it's just, it's so dry. Like it's all just like so, like you said, it's like stone faced satire, and the humor comes from just like reading it and being like, what on earth? Yeah. Why are they talking
right off the bat? So I'm pulling up some images here, and I'm getting some memories of this, and I'm actually just reading through the submission guidelines of this document here of like of the where it says this is submission guidelines. Generally, all submissions should be typed, double-spaced, printed on paper. This paper should be recycled paper, manufactured from at least 80% recycled post-consumer recycled fiber. If your submission is printed on unrecycled paper, it will be thrown out. Like it's
that's
like that's funny. Like that's really good.
Funny. And it's
oh my goodness.
It just brings me joy. Like straight, some of these are like just absurd, right? Like when you read them, you're like, why does this exist? This is the goofiest thing of all time. But something about reading it like this way, but the way that they write the way some of these authors have, and half these people I've never heard of before ever. Some of them are like, you're going through here, you're like, don't know this person, don't know this person, don't know this person. Jon Stewart, what? Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't know. It was very important for my like humor development, I suppose. Like, because I really like that dry, satirical silliness, right? Like one of my favorites it's called The How and Why Book of Magnets by Patricia Marks.
Oh my gosh.
It's just the dumbest thing ever. But I love it so much. So much so that when somebody says the word magnet, my brain says, well, is it a pineapple magnet? Banana magnet? What kind of magnet? Like that's
oh my god.
Because that's like here's just a small excerpt from this. I'm not trying to get copyright strike here, but one of the things is, so it's the How and Why Book of Magnets. It's about Mike and Sue discovering magnets. It reads kind of like one of those like 50s like narrated infomercials where it's like, now here is you're like that, you know what I mean? But it says, why are all the magnets on refrigerator doors? There are magnets everywhere, in the air we breathe, in the food we eat, even in our bathtub. Everyone else can see them. What's the matter with you? Maybe something wrong with your eyes. Like,
Yes.
Ugh.
Yes.
But and like they just keep talking about how all magnets are pineapple, pear, or banana shaped. Like that's it. Like those are the 3 types of magnets. Like how do you make a homemade magnet? You take a compass, you smash it with a hammer, boom, you've made a magnet. And they're like, oh wow, homemade magnet. Like, not so fast. It still has to be painted like a pineapple, a pear, or a banana. Like,
right. It's consistent. It's consistent in its
right?
absurdity. Yes.
And
oh my goodness.
how many kinds of magnets are there? Nobody knows how many kinds of magnets are there, but there are at least 3: the pineapple magnet, the pear magnet, and the banana magnet. Some scientists think there may be 10 or 12 million or even more. Some scientists don't even care. It's
yes.
It's my favorite.
That's
my favorite thing ever. Patricia Marks, if you're listening, I don't know what you were doing when you wrote this, but I need you to know that this was a seminal in my development as a youth. So I'd like to thank you publicly here, just for everyone to be listening.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a kind of where you just take that one concept and you just stick with it, right? And you hold on to that
so hard
through the entire thing, and you never let go, and you never release it. You don't change. It's consistent. There are 3 types of magnets, and not just are we going to consistently remind you of that to you, because it's not just funny the first time. It's actually funnier the 11th time that you read that.
This goes on for 7 pages.
Pages, right?
And it's brilliant. Like it's
yes, and that's hard. That's you don't.
It's so good.
Yeah,
it's so good. I love it so much. The other one, of course, that I have to mention, is the one that I texted you a picture of.
Oh,
there's another very important, like weird inside joke. It was a big inside joke between like me and my friend, and I know like you and no one else in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it just it's so niche, and those are the only 3 people I know that ever read this. So I don't. It's not there. Oh, I forgot about this one, The Hidden Life of Rocks. I'm going to have to read that one again. But of course, talking about. I'm trying to find the author here. I can't remember what page it's on. If only somebody had a bookmark that wasn't on the floor next to the book.
No.
Not in the book itself. That's terrible. Right. But it's called The Midwest. Where is it?
Oh,
right.
This is so good because
this makes me so happy.
This was one of those, again, stumble upon these things of you get thrown into it felt like being thrown into a larger conversation about something
by Michael Feldman
that I didn't even know, like being in the Midwest, like why would this even be a topic? And it was so funny because of the lengths that they go to describe this. And like it was this big controversy like going on, and it was just again being swept up into the middle of this conversation and this topic, this debate that's going on, and you're just sitting there going, "Wait, what is happening? Why am I putting my nose on a map? Like what? What?"
It also does breach a very important topic, right? Is Ohio really in the Midwest?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if indeed, as this essay claims, if the nexus of all things Midwest is Iowa, I think Ohio might be too far away.
Well, because when you can't see it out of the corner of your eye, right?
Yeah,
when you're down there.
Yeah. Like I feel like, when I was thinking about this, I read this and Susan read it, and then we started talking about regions of the United States. Like earnestly / humorously, right? And like we were debating, she has different versions of what the Midwest is than me, and so we had to seriously talk about this. Like, where is it? We don't know, right? Because she was like, thinking about Kansas. It's like, no, Kansas is the West.
Yeah.
Right. Those prairies, right? Dodge City, Kansas is literally the Wild West. So like, that's the West. Okay, that's not. If Wyatt Earp was there, it's the West. All right, that's how it works.
Same,
but like Ohio and Pennsylvania fall into this like black hole of like, what are you? Where do you go? Right, like
yeah, because people in the Northeast don't want Pennsylvania.
No,
right? No, but people in the Midwest.
I mean, it's technically like one of the 13 original states, but like only a part of it.
Yeah,
right. Like like half of it.
Yes,
like only Philadelphia.
yeah,
not even half. Like 1/5 of Pennsylvania is like
one
East Coast,
one city.
Right?
Anyway, yes,
because you think about like Northeast, right, East Coast U.S. Like you don't think about Pennsylvania.
No.
Right.
But then, it's too far away from the middle of the country, and so is like, yeah, Ohio falls into that as well.
Like Ohio doesn't feel Midwesty.
No, it doesn't.
No, I've never been to Ohio, so I can't really.
I mean, I do know they have lots of corn. Still. So
yeah, but that can't be the only qualifier.
I don't.
Otherwise, you'd be like, oh, Montana is the Midwest. Like,
that's true.
See, I don't think South Dakota is Midwest. They have all the corn.
Well,
right?
But see,
they're a plain state. They're like prairie.
Then, see, I have that other distinction of the upper Midwest, right? Of the, of the. That's where I just saw. Basically, in my mind, that was everything north of Iowa. That's the upper Midwest, where it's not really
like. Yeah, that's the hard part, right? That's why, again, that's what the argument that this satirical essay is making is like the word the title Midwest is the least helpful moniker of all time, right? It's neither mid nor west of anything. So like it was west of like when the United States didn't pass the Appalachian Mountains. That was the West, right?
Yes.
Like Ohio was the West in like 1790. So it's about time as well. But yeah, I wouldn't put Dakotas in the Midwest. Either of them. They're just such a prairie state. They're like a Great Plains. That band from like, the old Tornado Alley states, right? Like North Dakota to Oklahoma and that northern bit of Texas. That's all Great Plainsy, right? That's not Midwest. That's what I think. I think that border, like the Missouri-Kansas border, is the cutoff. There's no.
Yeah. Well, and then it's so funny when you look
like
at
Iowa in, Nebraska out, right? Like no, get it.
But see, that's
all the corn too. But
that's what a lot of people think of when they think Midwest. They think that like Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, even Oklahoma. They'll throw in that as well, all the way up through the Dakotas.
No. See, I don't think so. I think I like Iowa. I agree that Iowa's probably the nexus of all of this, right? I believe it's like the most Midwesty.
It is. It needs to be, yeah.
So Iowa, right? I think Missouri. I know some people would probably argue with that because parts of Missouri start getting very southern, right? But again, no, not really grits here in Missouri. So still not the South. Okay, that's one way to know what's for breakfast. That's what you guys.
It's a good distinction. I think we could. That should be.
It really is.
Yeah.
That's what this essay mentions at one point. I mean, I was like, you know what? That's a good point. If you automatically get grits, you're in the South. Okay. Mm-hmm. Like, so I think we can firmly ensconce Arkansas in the South, right? That's how that works. But like Missouri, Iowa, Illinois is definitely Midwest, right? Having spent a lot of time in Illinois, is 100% Midwestern.
Yes.
Right. 100%. I would say a lot of people, when they think Midwest, I think what they actually think of is Minnesota.
Mm.
Right. Because if you like see people on the internet talking about the Midwest, the accent that they are adopting is very Minnesotan.
This is true.
Right.
Yes.
Or like Wisconsin-y.
Yeah.
Which they're not wrong, but like I'm just saying that they're that's what the internet seems to stereotype Minnesota and Wisconsin as the Midwest only. But they're like the northiest part of the Midwest.
They're the Canada of the Midwest.
Yeah. Right. So like a little bit weird. I could see an argument for Indiana, although having been to Indiana either, I really can't say with 100% certainty, is Indiana in the Midwest? Is it not? I don't know. Like, so is it? That's what I think. I think definitely like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, Missouri.
Yeah, and then you kind of leave the.
I don't know what to do with Michigan.
No,
right?
No, like, it's fine. Well, yeah, they get lumped in with Wisconsin most of the time anyway, even though they hate it. So, but that's true. Fine. That's their fault for living there. So they can. No, I'm kidding. But it's weird because like in my brain, like it's Michigan. It seems so far north that it can't possibly be in the Midwest, but it still really is. But then
maybe because from our perspective, Michigan is like northeast, right?
Yes.
So it's like,
yeah,
it's like up there with Ohio, right? This is going to make people in Michigan angry. I'm going to lump them in with Ohio here for a minute. Like they're just kind of over there. Like even though Ohio is even further east than Michigan, like it's way over there. Like I don't know what you're doing. Like what do you?
Yeah. Yeah, and then unfortunately, from Dakota to Kansas, you just you're like those in my brain get lopped off too because they're just you're right, they're the plains, right? There's just nothing, and then you get into the West.
Yeah. So now this is weird because like when you think about, I was thinking about this, right? When you think about like the West, okay, when you think about like. So when I think about West, like many Americans, I think about like cowboy movies, right? But all those cowboy movies take place in like Texas, Kansas, Colorado, right? Like,
yeah, not very few of them in Idaho or Wyoming.
Yeah. I mean, in like Jeremiah Johnson maybe, but like because like the cattle drives were going from Kansas to like Texas.
Yeah.
So the West is actually just the Great Plains states.
It is.
So everywhere between the Midwest and the Rocky Mountains is like the West.
Yeah.
And then you have the Southwest, which is like Arizona, New Mexico, I guess a little bit of Texas, the El Paso-y part, right?
Panhandle maybe, but Panhandle is basically the extension of Oklahoma. If you just like, there's no reason.
Well, I didn't want to say Panhandle because the Panhandle is the top up by Amarillo.
Yes,
right.
Yeah,
so, but like, okay, basically from there over is like the Southwest because it all starts looking very like, it gets real deserty out.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a preponderance of sand over there, like real hardcore.
Yeah. The trees start going away. And you go, uh-oh. What's happening?
This is not a place for life. It should not be here.
Isn't. But like, yeah, it's weird because you think about like the West, like the Wild West, but actually what you're thinking of is like Kansas, which is odd, but that's what it is. It's Texas, of course, because but like it is Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Colorado, like New Mexico, Arizona. That's like the West, right? And then like the West Coast is like, oh yeah, and California's over there. Like that's right. That wasn't really part because that was, still like Mexico technically. So that was
didn't really have that.
Yeah, that didn't become a thing until like John Steinbeck, right? So like until
It's fine.
Until the Great Depression, the West was just Kansas. But then everybody left the West to go more west.
Westerer,
right? That's a very odd thing to think about, right? Like it's not like because I think about like West, I think about like John Wayne, right? That's what I think about. Right? Clint Eastwood movies, things like that. But those are all in like weird places like Colorado or Kansas. Like that's what it kind of hurts my brain to be like that is. But again, you think about that. Like I said, that's the cattle drives were from all the Great Plains down to Texas. That's where all the ranches and stuff are currently still. So like, and I guess Montana.
Well, that's where they wintered, right? And they would come up and down there. The ranch hands would go back to the cattle in Montana, and then they'd drive them down. And
over for the winter because nobody wants to be in Montana in the winter. No, that's not fun.
No.
So yeah, but yeah, it's very odd.
Yeah,
regions sometimes don't make sense.
Turns out, arbitrary regions are a little bit arbitrary.
But yes. So we will work hard on O Brother to arbitrarily define the Midwest in as many values as possible so that you can find it, so that you're not confused. I feel like this is the real O Brother road trip we've been teasing the whole time.
Yes.
Firmly identifying the boundaries of the Midwest.
To disambiguate the Midwest. Oh, this is good.
Oh,
okay.
Man.
Well, that's done. What are you doing for spring break?
Yeah, I don't think I just had my spring break actually.
Sorry. Yeah, good point.
But
good point.
It was breaky. But yes, this could be it. This could be it.
Well, we had a little bit of the actually, this is a perfect tie-in. Something that we got to do this week of be part of the Midwest and the West and the cattle drives. We went out on a hike along the Katy Trail, which runs through Missouri, and it was where the cattle would be brought up from Texas into Kansas, and then over and up through our town on their way into Chicago to be processed.
Yeah,
and the Katy Trail was that was the railroad, and then it was turned into the hiking trail for everything. And so that is quite fascinating to me to be part of that and to be talking through the history of that with the kids while we're walking on the trail and like trying to set the scene for what it would have looked like back then and like what our town would look like. It was kind of cool. We had to go into later, a few days later, we went into a frame shop we had one of our picture frames fell and we went in to go see if we could find a picture frame. And it turns out she only does custom picture frames. And so we sat there politely for way too long, only to find out like the custom frame that we needed would be like $350. I was like, well, I will need to get back with you. But anyway,
I can probably make you one for $20.
And so while we were there, behind us, they had a map of what the town looked like. That it was actually drawn to try to attract people there. It was an actual aerial shot. Drawing of the town from 1869 or something.
Oh, nice.
Totally cool. And we could actually see where the railroad was placed, how far west of the town was. Like they weren't even out to where we were, and we're central in the town now, which is kind of fun.
So it was much smaller.
Way smaller, which is again kind of cool. Like our little street didn't even exist, but we're pretty close. We're just like 1 or 2 streets away from the westernmost part of the map at that point. but explain to them like, yeah, this is how the cows were brought into town as part of this. This is where the town grew up and why it was here. And now we're walking on this. And then as you walked along this trail, and this is a part where we hadn't walked before. We'd actually driven around to get access to a further spot from where we had previously walked.
The new part.
The new part. And that's when we started to see the telegraph poles that were literally trees with
right, like
they were just
a crossbar nailed to them
with a crossbar nailed to it's exactly what they were. I was like, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, I got really excited, and the kids and I went over there, we're looking at them, some of them still had the original wire on them.
That's crazy. It's just like that's real weird, right? Like,
yeah, it's just there. It's just there. And how then it was kind of a neat, like, yeah, like this. And so at first the kids were talking about like, oh, so they carried the electricity. And I was like, no, like this was not for power lines. That's not what these were. These were so you could talk to each other with little bips and boops basically over the wires. And like,
how do you explain Morse code?
That's when I started to get to that point. I was like, no, wait a minute.
It's like a telephone, but just with beeps.
Yeah, and dashes. And
yes.
And I so that was kind of neat to describe, like, yeah, think of our town, but with nothing there and no power lights. And yeah, we all have to use gas lights. And then as we walked further along, we started to find discarded railroad ties from whenever they had just when they made this into a trail. They took the tracks. Obviously, those are not there anymore, but they just took a lot of the ties and hucked them over. And I know those aren't original; those had to be replaced periodically over the course of that lifespan.
But they're still going to be pretty old because that hasn't been used for quite a while. I would imagine.
Yes, yeah. I mean, and the conversion to the Katy Trail was a while back, even from modern day. So, and then it set that the tracks had set derelict for a very long time. So yeah, it wasn't; these weren't brand new ones. So that was kind of cool. So we could go over. You can touch the railroad ties with the spikes driven in them, and talk about the Western expansion and how that influenced society and what it allowed. How the railroads came first, and then the telegraph wires paralleled those, and then the power lines paralleled those, and we built up and out and expanded through. I was way more excited about this than everyone else on the walk with me, but
it's fine.
It was neat. It was really neat to see what we just that history that's kind of off the beaten path.
Yeah, it's really cool. That's just sort of like there, and you it's like you could find. You have to look for it a little bit, right? You dig, like move the branch aside, but like it's just there. It's really weird how that stuff is just like, oh yeah, it's just laying there on the ground, like yeah,
Yeah, it's just over here. No worries. Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here being like, how is this still here? Why is this not somewhere? Like, shouldn't this be protected or somebody looking after this? Like, how is this?
Yeah, you think it's some of it, but I mean, some of that stuff, like there are pieces of that railway in museums around. There's just like there was just so much railway that like.
Yes.
The museums have some, but the rest of it's like,
yeah.
All right, we're just gonna leave it here, I guess, because we don't want to
literally railroad
that's annoying.
Everywhere, right? There was a lot of it, so it was cool to see that still in the trees and still standing, and just to have that conversation.
Crazy that some of those telegraph poles still have wire hanging on them. That's the part that I was like, what? Like, how? How is that possible?
I know.
It's crazy. Like, just hanging out in the woods, wire on stuff. Mm-hmm. Yep, just is there.
Yep, just strung up. So
yeah,
anyway, I thought it was pretty cool. And a few of them still had the the insulators on the poles too, the glass insulators. Yeah, again,
Wild.
like those have been there for 100 or more years here at this point. Like
hanging out in a tree. Like
up there.
Yeah.
So
man,
then, other than
that's cool.
yeah, that was cool. And then we spending the rest of our time painting the house, which has not been fun. It's not been fun. So if the sound in here sounds a bit echoey, it's because I've had to remove panels from the office
so that you could paint them.
To paint and patch holes, and it stalled out. We like busted. I think like over the course of 3.5 days, we got Lily's room, Noah's room, our room, and the hallway mostly done, and then we turned our attention to the bathrooms and was like,
but what if I don't want to?
Because
that's a lot more like painting around stuff.
Oh yes,
right.
Yeah, like, it's much more intricate. Crevicy. It's a smaller space, a lot of detail.
And like paint behind the toilet. That's a pain.
Yeah,
that's like super annoying.
Not looking forward to that. And the other thing is I'm repainting. You have to edge around the bathtub and the shower, and so, but where ours is, it needs to be recaulked. And so now I've got to.
Oh, now you got to. Oh no!
Now,
another job.
I know. And I was like, as soon as I was like, I have to go get a caulk gun. Oh no! Oh no!
It breaks your stride real hard when stuff like that comes up, right? Like you're striding along, you're doing okay, you're persevering, and then like, oh, but I have to do this.
Yeah.
Oh, and then you just like, nope, done. I'm out. Like I can't. Like I just.
So I went around the edge of the tub and the shower and scraped some paint that was kind of chipping and flaking, get it off, and I was patching some little holes and getting that prepped, and it's all dry now. But now I'm at that point where I'm going, I don't want to have to try and reseal the caulk and the gut, right? Because it never comes out again. Well,
no.
So that means that I have to go at both bathrooms to do this. However, I also know how I am, where I'm going, okay, like if I need to reseal around the bathtub, I probably need to reseal other stuff in the bathroom as well. So I'm like eyeing the caulking around the sinks and some other places, and I'm like, I guess I just need to tackle all of this and just get it done in a day and not bother. But then I'm like, but I hate doing this so much.
Yeah, you. It's not. That's pretty yucky.
Yeah, that kind of ground me to a screeching halt.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Unfortunately. So, alas, we will persevere.
Yeah, but that's hard to get back going when you have those, like, you're like doing something you kind of already don't want to do, and then you get a bunch of obstacles slapped out in front of you, and you're just like, nope, I'm good, thanks, I'm done.
Yeah. And the unfortunate part is like, then
it's real hard to get started again, and you have to because you've already started, right? But it's like really hard and not motivating at all to like restart like that whole thing.
It's not. And we have the paint all sitting here, and it's like everything's out and ready to go. And I just, so I'm really need to continue pushing on that, because otherwise nothing will happen.
Well, good luck.
Thanks.
That doesn't sound very fun, but good luck.
Now.
There you go. Oh, I thought earlier, I thought of a potential challenge for next week if you're interested.
Okay.
Since I was moaning about school so much, and I talk about school all the time, blah, blah, blah. What about top 5 movies set in a school?
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Like, at least partly. Like, the whole thing doesn't have to happen there, obviously. But, like, top 5 best movies that happen at a school.
I like this.
Okay. I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, that'd be fun. Since we talked about it so much. And I was moaning about it earlier.
Yeah.
So this will be a way to segue into some hilarity, potentially. I thought about this, and I thought I could only think of 2 movies off the top of my head. I was like, okay, I'm going to put some work in on this because I am struggling, but I think it could potentially be funny.
Okay.
Top 5 favorite movies where the school is a major setting.
Okay. I look forward to this.
All right.
challenge And tackling this. Da, da, da.
Dun, da, da, da.
Okay. We will look forward to what we come up with.
All right.
Okay.
See.
Hey, on to movie watching.
Yes.
Forward on.
Well, or movie listing, anyway.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Of course. No watching. No movies will actually be watched for this challenge.
Because you're going to be painting a bathroom. So, I mean,
I could
it's a little difficult.
I could listen.
That's true.
You know,
Okay.
do things. Stop.
Good.
Okay. Well, we'll do that next time.
Alrighty.
Okay. Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.